Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it is Monday in the the beginning of another week. And I guess we could start off referring to your weekend flush. We had a shooting slash stabbing, and you gave the details in the weekend flush. And as usual, we don't know any of the real details. We're just it's fluid, as you
It's
put it.
fluid. That's right. The investigation is still fluid.
Fluid.
Yeah.
It's like water. It takes the shape of anything Paul wants it to take. So, but again, that segues into another thing we heard. But then I think it was really important that you posted something from that was allegedly. Can we confirm that letter was from the parent or that comment?
that post is definitely from the parent. It's the allegedly is that the teacher caused the incident. The school department personnel will not confirm that the teacher can cause the injury, nor will they confirm or deny that the teacher has been placed on leave. It's the school department. You know how they are.
Yeah. I mean, look, and I understand to a degree when they say these things are allegations until proven and they can't confirm or deny if what actually happened until there's a full investigation. But they should at least acknowledge that an incident occurred and it's under full investigation, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But as you said, in the school department, nobody knows nothing. It's like you got a whole bunch of Sergeant Schultzes over there. They all know nothing. I know nothing. Nothing. I know nothing. Which brings me to the fact that I got a call a little while ago from someone who listens to We Suck at Radio. And I guess there'll be somebody getting fired shortly because I guess somebody on the Breakfast Club they referred to a study, or they did a study, and said that Fall River was the 7th worst city in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts to live in.
So imagine that.
Imagine that.
Hey, we're number 7. We're number 7. At least we're not number 1.
And I object to that. I think we're a lot higher.
So do I.
I'm sorry. I mean, that was skewed. I mean, there's only 344 cities and towns that are considered better to live in than Fall River. Paul, did you hear that, Paul? What have you been saying on this show since you got in, you bozo? Nobody wants to move here. You think this town's going to be flooded. You guys, your Kool-Aid. Keep singing the Kool-Aid and getting your propaganda networks to all talk about how this city is going to be miraculously changed into Newton, because we got train tracks and trains coming in. You lied about how you're going to develop it. You said it was going to be green space. I drove down to the Vol corridor today. I was going to take a video. I don't go during a week. The traffic's too much of a pain. So I took a drive down there and I looked at the rock pile and the sand pile and the cement pipes and the rubble and the backhoes and everything else. It's magnificent. What else can you say about it? Magnificent. And then you look at that spot and visualize that we saw that thing from the MBTA when it was all green space, which is a nice touch. You can see a little bit of the water. But now we know it's going to be all buildings. And think about that. You've got parallel streets running across that space. Imagine the traffic now. If that thing is developed. Well, there'll be no traffic, only for a while, because that place will be derelict, and it'll be a homeless encampment within 4 or 5 years. These people think everybody is absolutely stupid. Absolutely stupid. 341 cities and towns with better educational systems, less crime. More stores to shop in. But they're all going to move to Fall River because you built apartments. I don't know, CJ. Do the other 344 cities and towns in the state of Massachusetts have apartments?
I'm sure they do.
I think they do. I think
sure
they
they
have
do.
housing. But they
Now,
all live like you're muted, CJ.
no, I'm not.
Oh yeah, but you were moving your lips unless there was a little delay because you were
I
moving
think
your
there was a
lips and
delay.
no
There's probably
sound
a
was
delay.
coming out. Yeah, I don't know. Do they all live like out in tents, out in the middle of a green space? It's like there's nobody else. Going to vote, that's it. Vote early, vote often. No, I didn't. Go ahead, David. Get that vote in here, man. Remember, no incumbents. I don't care who they are. They're not staying in, not in this state. I'm sorry.
No incumbent. That's it. As a matter of fact, if there's no one running against them, leave it blank.
But I mean, CJ, to get back to that other thing, it's like we see this all the time on this show. We've talked about the crime stats. We're number 1, number 2, number 3, always at the top of all the bad categories. And these boneheads think that building apartments, you mean you can't get an apartment with granite countertops anywhere else in the state? I loved when they put that stupid, marketing thing on for that place. So, oh, look, it's got stainless steel appliances and granite countertops. You can't get that in Boston. You can't get that in Braintree. You can't get that in another community.
Can't get that.
We're always in the top 10 in every crappy statistic we can be, and we're always in the basement with everything that really counts for quality of life.
Well, here's something, because Jeffrey said this: drinking to make believe safe city. Well, when you made that comment, Jeff, what I did was I immediately looked up, and here's the quote from Nietzsche magazine. Fall River is close enough to Dartmouth, Swansea, Westport, etc., so there is quite a bit of opportunity here. However, Fall River is seen as one of the most dangerous towns in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
Yeah, and like there's no place you can live in all those other communities you just named, right? If you've got money and you can live in anywhere you fundamentally, if you lived in Boston, you can afford any. Boston's one of the most expensive places to live in the United States right now.
Right.
So when you're moving from the greater Boston area to anywhere, you can basically pick where you want to go because you can afford it. And these people got this con running while they're all making millions of dollars. They're running a giant con. And I don't know, they think everybody is stupid, but you know what everybody doesn't do? They're not stupid. They all know this is BS. But I'll tell you what they don't do. Do what David's doing. Vote. Everybody vote. From now on, let's get these 44,000 people that don't show up. Let's get them to the polls. You want to change this city, put people in who are going to look at the city through not rose-colored glasses. See, these are regular reading glasses now. Yeah. But it's crazy. And the thing is, this guy's spending money like a drunk. He's spending money like Kamala and Joe, and he's running the cost of living in Fall River. The only thing that kept people in Fall River was it was one of the cheapest places to live. And you looked at that list, and who was leading that list? Springfield. Well, Springfield is one of the 3 communities, the other 2 communities that are worse than Fall River's retirement system. And remember, Paul Coogan is robbing from the retirement system again. He manipulated the system and the law so he could get the 5th vote. And when he needs the money, he's going to try to get it from his 3 people because he gets 3 appointments on the board. And that's why we're trying to change it on the state level. This city is getting more expensive to live in and worse as far as quality of life. And he thinks people are going to move down here. I mean, He is beyond batshit crazy. It's BS. It's not crazy. They fully know this is bull, and this is not going to happen. This is a pipe dream.
I'm not sure I understand that, Jeff, but
There's only an area to get an apartment, but there's always the positive of 5 to 600. What is that? The ratio of apartments to applicants of apartments, Jeff?
yeah, I would like, it's interesting.
Yeah.
One of the things that, David brought up, 28% increase in taxes. Remember Prop 2.5?
Yeah.
I remember Prop 2.5 very well because the woman who worked so diligently on that died not that long ago, and she worked hard on it. But I would like to bring it back to the voters. I want to change it. I want the 2.5 increase limited to the property taxes, not the way they do it now, where they do a 2.5% increase over the entire assessment and then divide it up, because when you have things like TIFs, you pay for it. You pay for it. Let the city pay for the TIF.
Yeah.
Okay. Let them take it out of their budget.
And
let my taxes go up 2.5%, and I won't bitch.
If you had enough money, that's why I say I just wish every day I played when the jackpot gets big. I always play Powerball and Megabucks, hoping someday that I will win. Oh, okay. And but remember when they passed 2.5 in the great old days when we had, like, once in a while we'd have a Republican governor, even though they were rhinos, they were a little bit more conservative fiscally. Now we got all wokey Democrats. We got a governor that doesn't know how to spend anything on the people for the people, but everything for illegals and other people. We don't get anything, and it's got to change. 2.5 was passed to protect the taxpayer. And as you said, CJ, but remember, there was a stipulation in that law, and it's still there, that if the state imposes a burden on a city, they have to pay it.
Right.
But think about it. If we could hit the Megabucks or something, or the Powerball, why can't we apply that stipulation to cities and towns? 2.5 was a measure to help the taxpayer. Now, if a city imposes burdens on its taxpayer, like giving out TIFs willy-nilly to every rich developer, every millionaire developer in the world, let them pay it, just like you said, right? Doesn't the state have to pay anything they impose on a city?
Right.
Well, why can't the city? You want to give them a TIF, Paul? You pay it. Why should I pay it? Why should CJ pay it? Why should
I'm not getting any benefits.
And everybody who lives in an apartment is paying indirectly, because the landlords have to pay that TIF. I think you'd have a very, very good chance of winning this in court, especially in light of the fact that, God, that's going to be 5 years ago. We've got studies from eminent colleges that prove that TIFs don't help the economy in a city. It helps the developers. It helps the rich people. It helps Paul's friends.
It's a burden on the community.
It's a burden on a community. It has a negative, long-range negative impact. TIFs. We know that, but they don't care. They're friends with all the money. The people with all the money get a tax break. The people with no money is, screw it, lose your house, tough shit. Lose your house, be forced to take a reverse mortgage because you can't afford to live anymore when you're on a fixed income. I mean, they're not only not going to get people in this city, because remember, Everybody knows nobody wants to come to Fall River. People say it's one of the most dangerous cities. It's number 1 through 5. Yeah, none of you won. We're in the top 10 of every crappy category we can be in. But we're going to have people just running down to Fall River. Let me look in my book. Let me look in the book here. Let's see. Top 10 in crime, worse education, horrible city to live in. Everybody in the state thinks this. Oh, yeah, I'm going to move there. And I'm going to pay the same rate I would pay to live in some place that's in the top 10 for good things. Yeah, you're right. You can't. Why should we be paying this stuff? And yet, they give out breaks to the people who need it the least. What's their excuse? Oh, they won't develop. Well, if they won't develop, let them not develop. Let them keep the rents low so people can live. You don't want to come here and invest your own money. You want all kinds of breaks. You want all kinds of loopholes, age dips, and TIFs and ties and zoning changes for your benefit. And you're doing this all over the state. You're worth hundreds of millions of dollars and you're getting tax breaks. While some poor bastard that's on a fixed income has got to pay 23% more for their water, got to pay more property taxes, got to pay for your TIFs. What's the moral of that story? Get your ass out to vote. Tomorrow is 2 weeks to the national election. Get out there. Send a message. Write in Mickey Mouse for some of these people that are running unopposed, because you're better off with Mickey. No, Mickey Mouse is woke. Disney's woke. Forget that. Write in the Tasmanian Devil or something like that, because we got to start sending a message in this state. These states, they're murdering the people in these states. That's why everybody's flocking to all the red states. North Dakota, South Dakota, Texas, Florida, Tennessee. Tennessee's a big one, too. A lot of people don't realize. A lot of people are moving to Tennessee. You know, South Carolina, North Carolina. Everybody's getting the hell out if they can get out. But some people are just trapped here. They can't. What are you going to do? You're on a fixed income. They just jacked you, the cost of your house up from $250,000 to $450,000. You sell it. Even if you got some of that, you probably still got a mortgage. So you're going to sell your house. You're going to get $200,000 profit, maybe. That's not even a down payment when you move to another state, plus the cost of the move. People are trapped here. The only reason people stay in this place is because they have to now. And this is what they've created, because they don't care about you. That's the bottom line. They do not care about the average person. Just like Kamala didn't care about Jocelyn Nungari. So she didn't care about the people who were murdered. Oh, I feel really bad. Oh, sure you do. That's why you didn't close the border. That's why you still haven't closed the border. These people don't care. These elitists don't care. If you watched that dinner, you saw all those billionaires sitting up there making faces when that comedian who ripped him a new one. He was really good, and he was really to the point. Some great satire in that thing. It was worth the watch. But you think they cared? It's like Bloomberg sitting there with a puss on him. He lasted about a New York minute when he ran for president because he showed his true colors. He had a lot of money, but he showed the way they really feel. Even that guy made a joke about it. Don't happen in Martha's Vineyard. Doesn't happen in Napa. No, it only happens in places like Fall River. What did they say? What did Bloomberg say? Remember what he said? They were talking about people can't afford food. They can't afford the inflation. He said, well, you can't afford an electric car. You can't afford gas. Take the bus. You can't afford meat. Eat beans. You can't afford to have your dog and take it to the vet anymore. Put it down. He was out of the race in 30 seconds after he made that comment. That's the way they really feel. You think George Clooney gives a shit about you? You really do? He wants something, he picks up the phone and calls Biden. He already said that. I call the president. You try to call the president. You'll have the freaking FBI knocking on your door. Department of Justice, they'll be out there with a SWAT team. These people give millions of dollars to these politicians, and they have an open door policy for them. And for us, it's a bend over policy. And with that, CJ, back to you.
Well, isn't that interesting? Hey, did you know Massachusetts has a new gun law? I'll bet you a lot of people didn't know that.
Yeah, I know they. I got all kinds of stuff from the NRA, from the gun clubs and everything else.
Yeah, I mean, and Maura Healey,
because I am a member of the NRA. So
right, and you know the interesting thing is Maura Healey deliberately denied the voters their rights. See, this is what you get with Democrats. Denied the voters their rights to have an opinion on this proposed law. And what she did was she put an emergency preamble on it to circumvent everyone. So now GOAL, which is Massachusetts Gun Owners Action League, has to turn around and put together a ballot question to veto her action, which won't happen until 2026. They collected 90,000 signatures. They only needed 37,000. 90,000 signatures and turned them in already to the Secretary of State's office. I believe 47,000 were certified. So they still have enough because they only needed 37. But we still have to wait until 2026 to vote to veto it.
yeah,
And the new regulations require you to go not only take a firearm safety course, but you have to go get certified by a live ammunition instructor. You have to go to a gun range and fire the firearm and show them, which I don't mind them doing that. I think that people should know how to operate their firearms, how to clean them, how to take care of them. I think that's important. But to, again, restrict your Second Amendment rights because she's a Democrat. And that's what she does. And she said, well, it's to save people's lives. In Massachusetts, we have 257 lives lost to guns, whether it's gun violence, shootings, accidental shootings, whatever the case may be, 257 lives lost. That's not that many when you consider someplace like New York, Chicago, Los Angeles. Okay? So I don't think any life loss is worth it. But guess what? That's what it is.
yeah. And listen, this is all BS. This is the wokies and their yeah. Well, she is so woke. She is so out of touch with reality that it's unbelievable. Look, number one, what she passed is Rhode Island already has that, CJ. I don't know if you're aware of it.
Yes, I do. I was aware of it.
In Rhode Island, you have, when you get well, now basically all of them have to take a gun course, which is, they should. I mean, you shouldn't be. But the irony is that what these wokies never admit to is none of this helps. Because 98% of the crimes are committed by people that shoot weapons like this. They don't aim. There are bullets flying all over the place. There's 27,000 casings while they're shooting at each other. They're all criminals. They don't get guns legally. Legal gun owners. There's enough laws already. This is not gonna put a dent saving people's lives. Saving people's lives are you not making this a sanctuary state and having people raping and killing people that shouldn't be in the country. That's what's going to save lives. Okay? Rhode Island not only you have to go to a live range. Rhode Island will not give you a permit for anything larger than the caliber that you qualified with. So if you go there with a 22, you can't buy a 38 or a 9mm or a 40. You have to, whatever you qualify with, you can have that caliber or a lesser caliber weapon, which I don't think is, that bad. But the fact is, some people just want the thing for personal protection. What are you going to do? Make them qualify at a range like they're in the military? Yeah, well, unfortunately, they had a statistic a couple of years ago, and they were bitching about gun crime. There were more murders by hammer. I'm serious.
I know that, but it's funny.
Serious.
I don't see any licenses to own a hammer.
Bottom line is that if they don't have a gun, they'll find. If somebody really wants to kill you, it's like terrorists. They say they want to blow themselves up. You can't stop terrorism if somebody's willing to die to be a terrorist. You may stop a few, but you can't stop them all. But the reality is, this is all BS. This is all BS. Some people want to have a gun, teach them how to store it in their house. Is it going to be effective? I don't know. Because if they don't practice with it, you really do have, even shooting is a perishable skill, no matter how much you shot. And in the past, matter of fact, I got an article I saved one time for people that I don't want to debate it, that a guy that was one of the best professional shooters, pistol shooters in the country, he didn't shoot for a while because he had some issues that he couldn't shoot. And when he got back in, he couldn't, he really was a terrible shot because it's a perishable skill, just like many things are. But this crap, these wokies pass all these laws to make themselves feel better and pretend they're doing something when everybody knows they've been passing gun laws. Ironically enough, the most gun crime occurs in the states with the most gun laws. New York, it's almost impossible to get a gun. New York City, it's virtually impossible to have a gun. There's all kinds of gun crime. You go to places where there's guns all over the place, the gun crime's less. Statistically, we can prove that. Go to South Dakota and pull a gun in the supermarket. Everybody else will have a gun. You look like Swiss cheese in about 2 minutes. Go to Texas and pull a gun. This is horse shit. Criminals are the people who use guns most of the time. And criminals don't obey laws. So making it harder for a law-abiding citizen to get a gun does absolutely no good. Believe me, I'm an advocate of training. I totally agree with requiring people to know how to handle, use, and store a firearm. I have guns. They are secured. I know how to handle them. And there's nobody else here to handle them except the dog. But the dog doesn't have a thumb, so she can't hold the gun. So, but the fact is, I'm a great advocate. I don't think you should just be able to walk into a store and buy a gun. Yeah, well, you can make a gun. They used to have zip guns in the old days when I was young. The gangs, when they couldn't get guns, when guns were even in the old days when they were a lot easier to get, you see, that's the thing. You can't walk into a gun store and just, these people make it like, oh man, we got to make even more laws and more laws and more laws. You got to jump through a million hoops now. For you never committed a crime in your life. You're a law-abiding citizen. You're totally on board to go taking a certified class. And they make you jump through hoops. You think some thug is going to go through all that? Of course not. They're going to buy a black market gun and they're going to be shooting at people. Most of the people that we see, every time you see something in Fall River about somebody with a gun, most of the time, if it's being used improperly, or it's person didn't have a permit, doesn't have a license, didn't get it legally. This is all baloney. This governor is it's pretty. She's the worst governor I think we've ever had. And that's saying something in this state, because we've had some real caucus. But this woman is just, and her rationale, it's these wokies, they just don't have any common sense. A wise man once said, I think it was Franklin, the least common of senses is common sense, of all the senses. And I just, when they do things like this, she wants all this stuff. And so these people are going to have to jump through hoops. Yeah, hopefully. I hope. I always found that I want your theory on this one, CJ, because you were once a Republican back in the old days.
When Republicans were Republicans. That's
right. When Republicans were Republicans. And but we've had numerous Republican governors in this state.
They were all rhino.
I want to know why you think how this state manages to periodically put in a Republican. And granted, most of them have been kind of rhino-ish.
Yeah, they're all rhinos.
Still, they were relatively, even like in New Hampshire with Sununu. He's a rhino, but he's kind of fiscally conservative. But at least they worry a little bit about how they spend money. But we've had a few. How can we explain this? I want you to explain this to me. The guy who said, we can't elect Republicans into the House and the Senate where it really counts.
Right.
But we've had numerous Republican governors. What do you think? How the hell does that happen in this state? If there's enough people to elect Republican governors, why the hell can't we get a few more Republicans in the House and in the Senate?
I think one of the reasons is because when they're voting for a governor, okay, they look at the two candidates. If you remember, for a couple of years, they were running some doozies for Democratic candidates. Okay, they were running some real loose nuts. They really were. And electing a rhino, which means Republican in name only, by the way, electing a rhino was an okay thing because they were very socialistic. And again, most were fiscally conservative. Not so conservative that you cut benefits off, not so conservative that you cut other things off, but just conservative enough so that you didn't really spend too much money over the budget. You stayed within in the line. When it comes to the House and the Senate, those people are local. Okay? Those people are local. And they're the people that get elected because of he fixed my sidewalk, he got me my benefits, he fixed my road, he got me my health care. He negotiated my veterans benefits from the state. These are all the things that they do. They get elected because of the favors they've done. They get elected because it's a personality thing. How does Linda stay in office for 30 years? She hasn't done anything. She hasn't made a significant change in the city because the city's still the same. Fiscally, we're still a mess. But how does she keep getting elected? And sometimes at the top of the ballot, because she does all those favors. And she holds people to those favors. I did you this favor, make sure you vote for me. I did you this favor, make sure you vote for me. I did this for you, make sure you vote for me. And this is what happens.
Yeah. We got to figure this out, CJ, because, I understand when we get a few Republicans from the western part of the state, because it's pretty Republican out there,
Yes, it is.
And some of the more affluent suburbs out there, like around Worcester and stuff like that. Every once in a while you see a Republican. But it was inexplicable to me how we managed to get a state rep in Taunton, because Taunton's kind of like a mini Fall River.
I know, I was surprised, but and that state rep is now their mayor.
That's right, now they're mayor. And so it's doable. And the people have just got to wake up. I mean, last election, didn't Trump get like 40-some% in Fall River, like around 48%? He got quite a bit of the vote.
Yes, he did.
And so therefore, all you need is a few more people to come out and say, I want to elect somebody who is going to worry about my pocketbook, who is going to be fiscally conservative. And, I've always said that I don't really like these labels, Republican, Democrat, conservative. I've always said, you're conservative about what you got, you're liberal about what you want, and you're moderate about what you don't give a shit about. And that's a reality. The thing is that, look, I would consider myself in some areas ultra conservative. And in other areas, I would consider myself liberal, and most of my positions are somewhere in between. I'm very fiscally conservative, but I'm fairly liberal about some of the not all of the social programs. Like, I think that's going to be revamped drastically. But when people need help, I believe that we have an obligation as a society to help them. When people have physical or mental conditions that prevent them from earning a living, prevent them from being able to get adequate health care, I think we have to provide that for them. That's my own philosophy. That's my opinion. So to call me like a conservative, that's what I'm saying. Those labels, I'm not big on that. People are going to start thinking with their head and saying, listen, is this guy going to watch how the government spends my money? And if he's got a platform, I'm going to vote for him. Forget about the party. That's what they got to do. It's that simple.
I agree with you there. But at the same time, I don't want a community or a state or a country that opens up the doors and says, come on in, and then gives them everything.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things. That was one of the things that Germany, Finland, and Switzerland talked about. People coming into their country thinking they're going to get everything for free and not have to work. That's not the case. You have to contribute in those countries, in those communities, and you should have to contribute it here. But hey,
yeah, and there are countries that actually require people. I think Japan, you have to actually learn how to speak the language. You have to have a job. You have to provide evidence that you work, that you earn an income, that you've learned their language and everything else in order to become a citizen of Japan. And there are other countries that require fundamentally the same thing. You just can't walk into the country and say, give me shit.
Like you
It's
can
like,
in the United States.
you come in, you have to prove that you have a work, you can work, that you have the ability to work, that you're going to work, and you have to earn an income. You have to contribute to that society. Now, they opened up the gates and let everybody in here because it's freebies. And more than freebies, like I said, now we got the gangs coming in to take advantage of the wealth of America. Now they're in San Antonio, they're in Colorado, that Tren de Agua or whatever it is. And we've got other gangs. That's one gang, but we got a whole bunch of gangs, and they've destroyed the country. And these labels, just pay attention to these people. This governor is just she's pathetic.
I agree.
And I did get a letter from Goal, actually. I got an email from Goal. So I got because I know a lot of gun owners, and and we communicate. Yeah, well, yeah, that's pretty bad. Yeah, and you're right. And in the old days, America was kind of like that. You remember that old speech that Roosevelt gave about a hyphenated America? Look it up, you people who want to see a great speech. Just Google Teddy Roosevelt's hyphenated America speech. He started by saying there's no such thing as a German American or a French American or any kind of American with a hyphen in it. You're an American. When you come to this country, your loyalty should be to this country. You should assimilate and learn the language and be part of that country. You can keep your heritage, but you have to be an American. America has to be first. And, that was the good old days when we had a good president, the Rough Rider, the Republican Roosevelt, not the Democrat Roosevelt.
When Republicans were Republicans.
Yeah, and he was a bull moose for a while too, wasn't he?
Yeah, the Bull Moose Party.
Teddy was a bull moose too. But there was a man who did it all. He was, he charged up San Juan Hill, served his country in the military with the Rough Riders, came back. That's my favorite president. Lincoln's number 2. He's my favorite. He had a boxing ring in the White House, and he brought the judo champion of Japan over for a year and trained with him. A real robust president, just like Joe Biden. I'm only being facetious at that one, but he was actually a very frail young man. He had asthma. He was very frail and stuff, but he was one of our greatest presidents. Not only did he protect the country, did he protect the country? But a lot of people don't realize he was a great. He was really something about he created the national park system. Roosevelt began the national park system. He was a real conservationist. He loved this country, as we all should. And in this election, let's see what happens. Remember, tomorrow, 2 weeks from tomorrow.
That's right.
It's probably the most important day that we've had since this country was created.
While we're on that, Jeff posted this earlier in the show. He wants to speak about the questions coming up in November. I believe there are 5.
Yeah, I got them over there. We'll go over them on one of the shows next week.
I think 2 of them that are very well. Actually, there's 3 that are very important. I think the fact that they want to audit the House and the Senate. The House and the Senate said no, you can't do that. The people said yes, we can. So it's a question. And I think the House and the Senate should be audited. They spend money like drunken sailors, and they pocket so much money themselves. Then there's the tip question. Do you want to keep tips, or do you want to take those service people to a minimum wage? The service people, the people who work in the service industry, want to keep the tips because in a good night, they can make $100, $200, $300 a night.
Yeah.
And that's what they want. Because if they're making $15 an hour, they're getting screwed. That's the way they feel. And the one that I think is very important is the MCAS question. And I think the MCAS question should be shot down. I don't want to see the MCAS required for graduation. If somebody's put in 12 or 13 years, yep, there's the book, 12 or 13 years into their education and they passed, they should get a diploma.
Yeah, the only problem I have with that one, CJ, is that when they lower the passing scores so anybody can pass, we're not graduating. I'm not a big fan of the MCAS, but the reality is that I think we need some metric. You can't just eliminate, say we're going to have no metric. And if the metric is going to be the public school system run by the bureaucrats and phonies that run the public school system, what they're going to do is lower the bar and lower the bar. They do not elevate the bar. They always lower it. They can't pass the MCAS, we get rid of the MCAS. They can't get a 70, we'll drop it to 65. They can't get a 65, we'll drop it to 60. I am an advocate of education, and I don't want people going through our educational system, paying all these people to educate them and having them come out functional illiterates.
You know, for years in the school system, we had standardized tests that were taken throughout your educational process, your educational career. You took those standardized tests, but they weren't so restricted that if you failed it, you didn't pass. You didn't graduate. They were used as guides to design your education so that you learn. The MCAS, all they do, the teachers do, and the teachers complain about this every year, all they do is teach the test. And that's what creates the functional illiterates.
But the counter that, I agree with you, but the problem I have with this whole issue is that in the old days, we did have standardized testing. I got tested like in the 7th grade or the 6th grade for my reading comprehension levels.
Right.
And those, and if you had those, they would be fine, but they're gone.
Yeah.
You don't see those tests anymore. The problem we have now is they want to eliminate any form of testing, and they want to make this Baltimore, where we have high school graduates that are reading on a 3rd and 4th grade level. They're functional illiterates. They're coming out of school with virtually no ability to read and write at any level. This is unacceptable to me. And this is the problem. To me, this question is the politicians saying, let's eliminate another metric while we don't, there's no promise in this law that there's going to be any kind of metric. What they just want to be able to do is give people a diploma that got through their system, and everybody knows. That's why the teachers, that teachers union back at the Democrats, because the teachers unions know that the majority of people in this country want educational choice. They want charter schools. They want to have educational choice because that will then maybe get their heads out of their asses in public schools, because this is what we got in Fall River. We're not educating our children. We're spending hundreds of millions of dollars educating our children in the United States, and we are failing. The public education system is failing. And this is only another movement to memorialize that failing, because now they're going to say, if they can't pass a test, don't give them a test. They're going to do what that woman in Baltimore who was in charge of it said. We don't care if they read at the 3rd grade level. We want to hurt their feelings. We're going to give them a high school diploma. No, you give them a high school diploma, and that high school diploma should say that you earned your money, that this person can read at least at a high school level and can add, subtract, multiply, and divide. This is a very inflammatory question to me. I don't like it, because these people are looking to basically memorialize their incompetence.
That's one way of looking at it, for sure.
That's right. Sure. That's my opinion.
Yep, that's one way of looking at it for sure. Well, I want to thank you all for watching, and remember, stay safe, stay angry, and hold your politicians accountable. We'll see you on Wednesday. Have a great day. It's got to be beautiful out there.